Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm Scott Moss. I'm a software engineer and investor in the space. I like to talk about things like getting into tech, inspiring other people to follow their dreams, startups, pretty much anything that comes to mind. If you are returning, you might have noticed in one of my last videos, I said, I'm going to start creating some new series and different types of content and things like that. This video is actually going to be the first video in a new series that I'm calling Examples. So Examples is a new series that I thought of after being interviewed by another YouTuber, Bukola. She interviewed me on my story from pretty much how I was raised to how I'm sitting down right now in front of this camera talking to you and everything in between. And I realized that is probably going to be powerful for someone out there, because when I was getting started and I was starting my journey, I really just wanted an example. I really just wanted to see a video like that of someone explaining all the rough patches that they went through and all the things that they had to overcome to get to where they were. Because even though I found some success in my life, there was a lot of hesitancy early on where I just wasn't sure. So in this video, I'm going to be talking to a good friend of mine, Travis. He is an engineer in the space, doing some really cool, amazing stuff. I've known Travis for a few years. He's actually one of the first people that I ever mentored. And he has a really good story about how we met. Without further ado, let's tune in and hear his story. All right, as promised, I have Travis here with me, but just to give you the TLDR, Travis is one of my closest friends. I've worked with him on pretty much every company I've ever started. He was like our first engineer hire. This guy has come from one of the most, unluckiest backgrounds and somehow found a way to make it to where he is today. And it's truly impressive. So I think it's only right that he be featured on episode 1 of this example series. So enough of me talking. I'm gonna hand it over to Travis. Travis, say what's up and tell us a little more about yourself.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. Most recently at Coinbase, I'm a boot camp graduate. Started programming after I got out of the military. Born and raised in Hawaii. Right after high school, I joined the military and went to the mainland, and it was a big eye opener for me. Was in the military for 5.5 years. Did a tour in Iraq. At the end of my tour, I decided I was gonna get out. I didn't want to do it anymore, and I wanted to take some time to figure out what my next step was. And I realized I need a skill or profession that will set me apart and make me valuable to a company. I ended up going to a boot camp, and the way that happened was I was Googling and watching YouTube videos on how to do this in WordPress, how to do that in WordPress. And then all of a sudden I started to get these advertisements on YouTube for boot camps. And I was like, nah, this is a scam. Anyhow, after enough of it, I started to do some research and looked into it, and I thought, why not try it out, right? I went to one of those boot camps to just talk to the founders and see what it was all about. And we had good vibes. It felt like they weren't trying to just take my money, and it was something legit. So it was a 12-week program. And at the end of it, they offered me a job as a junior instructor. So I took it. Yeah, that's kind of where you and I started to talk, right?
Yeah, which is an interesting story on its own. I think kind of how we met is just very serendipitous and random. I would love for you to talk about that from your perspective.
One of the big things that they wanted us to do at the boot camp was to create a LinkedIn and create an online presence. So I did that. And I started to look for people to follow as a mentor or someone who's doing stuff right. Basically someone who went to a boot camp and had success. And I saw your profile somehow, and it said you're in the Navy, and I was like, that's interesting. And you and I both know that when you get out of the military, it's a hard adjustment, and the programs that they have for people to go through are pretty trash.
Yeah.
I wanted to reach out to you to see if there's something that we could do together and do a collab. Maybe you can talk about when I first reached out to you.
Yeah, I remember getting the LinkedIn message. I was in the middle of trying to get my first company off the ground. So I was super stressed out, and my bills were stacking up, and I had just quit / got fired from my job. So I was just I'm not going back to work. So it was a really tough time for me. Somewhere deep down, I felt like, if someone is out there trying to connect, and if they have good ideas, I kind of need to allow them to be able to express those ideas. I can't let my current circumstances be the reason why they couldn't connect with someone and they have a different opinion about the tech industry. So I kind of try to put myself aside. I do want to zoom in on what you were saying about boot camps. So went to the Navy boot camp, but you also went to a coding boot camp, right? So what was your experience been between the two?
Oh, let's go take it real far back, all the way to why I even went to the Navy boot camp in the first place, right? So to make a long story short, on that aspect, I actually dropped out of school, not intentionally, just I didn't go.
Yeah.
My junior year. And I started hanging around the wrong crowd and started making money in, alternative methods.
Alternative.
I decided, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And one of my good friends, he's actually a cop now, he was like, hey, why don't you go to Job Corps? My brother goes there. So I was like, what is Job Corps? So I looked into it and I was like, you know what, why not? And did well there. I ended up getting a lot of awards just because I think I stood up because I wanted to be there and make a difference and change. Whereas the majority of the people there are there because they have to be there.
Yeah.
And then that opened up opportunities to like get my GED, which they were pushing for. I remember there was a party that I was at and a bunch of the older guys were sitting around a table drinking beer and eating food and talking and stuff. And I just was like, football coach, soccer coach, nothing going on. And I was just like, man, I do not want to end up like this. So I need to do something. And when I was at Job Corps, my boss, I kind of looked up to him too. I've always like looked for role models in like men because my dad was never around.
Yeah.
And whatever they would say, like I would really stick to it. And I remember him telling me, because he was well off. You know how to make a lot of money is you have to have a skill that no one else has, and you can charge whatever you want. And that stuck with me. He also told me, don't go into the trades, join the military and go see the world first. So I was like, okay, let me go. So the whole deal is you go to boot camp, and EOD, I never heard of it my whole life. And when they started to talk to us, they were like, yeah, we work with, the CIA, FBI, we're quiet professionals. No one really talks about us. No one hears about us, but we are the Special Operations Bomb Squad. And as soon as they said that, what came to mind was my boss from Job Corps telling me, you want to make a lot of money, you want to make a good living, get a skill that no one has. And I was like, I never heard of this thing in my life. It's got to be a specialized skill. So that was honestly my biggest deciding factor on why I wanted to go EOD versus SEALs. I'm from Hawaii. I consider myself a good swimmer, but I never had to swim 500 meters before without stopping.
That's rough.
Yeah, and side stroke in a way that I never swam before. So when I did that, I touched the ground and they were like, get your ass out. And I was like, shit, man, I'm not going to be able to do this. But there was a retry, and they offered like some classes on how to learn the side stroke or whatever. So I did that. Like I took 2 classes, redid it, and then passed it. But at the end of the day, I just always felt like the Navy owned me, and I just didn't like that feeling, and I didn't want to work government no more.
So let's zoom in. Now we got that figured out. Let's zoom into your career. Like I think it's interesting, kind of your path. We talked about, how we work together and things like that. And you started off saying that, most recently you were at Coinbase. Like, how did you get to that point of I'm selling solar? I was going to be a farmer. I was an EOD, and now I'm working at, one of the top, probably top 10 tech companies, in the world right now. Like, how do you manage that?
How did I get to Coinbase and stuff? Well, it all started with the boot camp, of course. After the boot camp, instructing and solidifying some of the knowledge gaps that I had. I was doing a full stack application. I convinced them to hire me on. So I made a lot of mistakes, and I was luckily paid to make mistakes and learn. And then he brought me on at Angular class, which would later be One Speed, and we did, the consulting there. So I learned a lot there.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
that was a crazy time. I bet you're like, what are these guys doing?
Yeah, but I've always been one to just take the plunge, right? Even to a fault, right? It could have went really bad. Yeah. Which it did get pretty rough for a little bit.
It got pretty rough.
It got rough after we pulled the plug on that, and that's when we split. And you guys did type at YC, and I had to get a job. So you and I both spoke about like what's potential landing spots, and you mentioned the whole like you got to be near a tech hub in case things don't go right. You have other opportunities and stuff. So at the time, Austin was the biggest buzz. So we did some research on Austin. I started interviewing with companies and got a job at Clear in Austin.
I just remember like you living down there in like what was it, like Hayward, and then the next week you were I'm working at Clear in Austin. I'm like, damn. That happened so fast. Like, man, like I just, you did that. You made that happen like instantly. I think once I decided I was going to leave Epic, I think I had an offer with Clear within a week, and we were already planning on relocating. Yeah. Things didn't work out at Clear. I had a connection at Coinbase. The CTO of one of the companies that I interviewed at when I went to stay with you in the Bay to actually get those Bay Area jobs. He was one of the
He was a staff engineer at Coinbase. So
Oh yeah,
he,
that's right. Yep,
yeah,
Leo.
Leo, yeah, Leo. He actually offered me a job as a junior a few years earlier, and yeah, I stayed in contact with him and told him, hey, I'm looking for my next thing, and he said, hey, you want to come to Coinbase? And he set me up with the recruiter, and we went through the interview process and stuff, and you helped me with the interview process. The rest is history.
So you just recently left your job at Coinbase to do what? What are you doing now?
Yeah, so when I was at Coinbase, it like we went through explosive growth with the direct listing and stuff. I took the offer in February of 21. And that was a few months before Coinbase actually went public, and it was explosive growth. I think we like 3x our engineering team in like 6 months while I was there. What I realized when I was there was like, this isn't fulfilling me anymore, and I don't feel focused, and I want to have fun again. And luckily, I was in a position to where I could afford to step back and reassess what I really want to do. So that's what I decided I wanted to do. I just decided I wasn't happy anymore, and I wanted to like pursue something that actually made me happy on a daily basis. Ironically enough, like I'm all about crypto and Web3, and that was something that I didn't even like really like pursue at Coinbase, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's what you're all in on now? Is you just
all in.
working on Web3 stuff?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that is just pretty serendipitous, because it's like, yeah, Coinbase is Web3 crypto stuff, but like you didn't kind of really care about it then because you were too busy trying to stay afloat at Coinbase with
No, I was too busy trying to build. I was building components at Coinbase, like
building components.
which is sad, right? Like I just,
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I'm on the other side of building now.
It's just truth that like you can't plan this stuff out, right? Like your path, your trajectory is not something that, when you were in high school, sit down with your counselor, prepping for the ACT and SAT, you're like, well, here's what I want to do. I want to do this for 4 years. And then eventually I want to, like, you can't plan this stuff out, right? Like, and I like what you said earlier when you were in Job Corps, you found, someone that kind of mentored you, and you believed in them, you trusted them, and that person was an example for you, right? Like that person made such an impact in your life just by being themselves. They didn't do anything out of the ordinary. They were just themselves, right? And it makes me think just like how powerful that is to like have an example in your life of someone that like you can connect with, that's just being themselves, and you can observe them, right? And then you can use that as kind of like a template for a path, right? It's not like you can't do exactly what they did the way that they did it, because their circumstances and their options were different when they were doing it, but you can use it as a template, as a guide to kind of do your own thing. And
Right.
that's kind of why I wanted to start this series here, is to have more examples, so someone can watch this one day and be like, yeah, I heard Travis talk about his story, and that was pretty crazy. I'm in such a similar spot, and he gave me some ideas of what I could and couldn't do. And I think that's what's really powerful about this. If there was this is hard, it's a hard question to answer, but if there was one thing that you think you did right in your past to get you here, what is it? And if there was one thing that you think you could have done better, what are both of those?
One thing that I did right was never compromise and settle on what I have in mind and my vision for what I want my future to entail. I remember living with family when I was back home in Hawaii, when I was barely making any money, barely being able to help pay rent and stuff. I was going to school on the GI Bill, like I was mentioning, and just kind of like slacking on it or whatever. And somebody saying like, oh, you got to get a job, just get a job, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm not going to get a job just to get a job. Like I want to make sure that what I'm doing is the right thing. And that's something that I can look forward to and be excited about. I've always been that day since day one. So I think never settle and always invest and count on yourself. Obviously, you can't just not take any action and just bet on yourself and just be lazy and expect things to come to you, right? But you can expect things to come when you put in the work and you make sure that you do everything you can to put yourself and set yourself up. So that's one of the good things. I think one of the things that I could have done better is definitely like the biggest thing for me all the way up until like we barely could afford to like wash clothes. We used to have to like recycle plastic and stuff to have enough money to do laundry, and we were renting an apartment in La Mesa. And my wife used to have to go up 3 floors to be able to just use the community washer. And I just remember stuff like that. Like, you got everyone out there, or most people have a rock bottom that they hit. For us, the rock bottom was like negative accounts, overdraft fees constantly and stuff like that. Anyhow, going back to like what I could have done better, I think I could have taken responsibility for my actions sooner. As soon as I started to take responsibility for my actions and like self-reflect and realize that I was being narcissistic, that's when good things started to happen.
Looking inward.
Yep.
I mean, that's tough, and it requires maturity, right? It requires a lot of things being thrown at your face until you're sick of cleaning it off.
Yep. Yeah.
And maybe then even still not. So, that's good for you. Yeah, this has been great, Travis. I learned actually some stuff about you that I didn't even know. So that's pretty cool, because I feel like I know you pretty well. There's always something about you that just blows my mind, and you always have it tucked away. You don't really tell anybody about it, but I think it's gold. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. I hope everyone watching, if you're out there, you're trying to transition into tech, you're trying to change careers, maybe you resonate with some of the stuff Travis was saying. Hopefully, there was something in here that you can hook on to help you get to that next level, whatever it is. Travis, is there any place that people can find you on to contact you if they had to talk to you or ask you questions about anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm at Poor Noodles at Twitter now.
Poor Noodles.
Yeah. My Twitter game, I'm a little Twitter baby, so I'm trying to get more active with the tweets. But
I'll have his Twitter information down in the description. You guys can follow him. Show Travis some love. He's super shy, but I mean, the guy just loves to give back, and he has a lot to give. So take advantage of that.
Yeah. Hit me up on LinkedIn too.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Travis. Everyone, stay tuned for more videos like this. If there's someone else out there that you want to see come on here and hear about their story, please let me know. Otherwise, I have a full list of individuals that I'm connected with that I plan on doing more of this. So we'll keep doing it. Thanks for tuning in.